All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Moving on to agenda item number 7, city manager report. I'll just turn it over to Ben.
Yes, Mayor. I got one official item, and I got two kind of quick announcements. I'm going to ask Director Shadrock to come up. We're going to do another Boerne Listens citizen survey follow-up presentation. It's been almost a year ago when we issued the survey or asked for participation from the community. And so tonight we're going to talk about communications. If we go next, as you guys are aware, last December, we got about just under 1,600 completed surveys. 75% of those were city residents, with another 25% from the greater Boerne community. They looked at all kinds of things from city facilities, city services, safety and security, mobility and infrastructure, and so forth. If you go to the next slide, and this is where I'm going to turn it over to Director Shadrock, who's going to really talk about the communication and the events piece of the survey. You've heard a different presentation earlier in the year, I think over the summertime. Might have been Danny who did the presentation about some community events. There's going to be some crossover tonight too, just the way these things were asked questions about. So I'll turn it over to Director Shadrock.
All righty. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Glad to be here this evening. So like the city manager said, Mr. Thatcher, so just kind of going over some of what was in those past survey from last winter, what's happening events, general city news, infrastructure projects. So these were a lot of the things that folks wanted to hear about and things that we were doing. And then, of course, how they want to be reached, which is email and text alerts. And then it kind of goes to social media and other means of outreach in terms of desired communication. We also did ask, we had just launched My Boerne News. Obviously, a lot of folks hadn't heard of it yet. Continuing to chip away at that, hopefully. And so here were kind of some of the conversations. Like I said, this is going to be a little different because there weren't too many comments that explicitly said, I need the communications department to do this, or I need that fix. But you can kind of read between some of the lines where it's like, oh, that's an area we can help assist with that. So in District 1, there should be more activities in the evening. The city should support this. District 2, I'd like to see more youth programs, specifically upper elementary and middle schools, the tweens who are beyond the basic story time and simple crafts, but not quite ready for killer crafts, true crime stories. District 3, let's move the city's website into 2025. District 4, everything closes too early in this town. We are forced to drive to San Antonio for everything. And then District 5, we need more communication about what's going on. And then outside the city, we know there has been tremendous growth the last few years. We would like, as best as possible, to keep the small town feel, but increase the number of family events downtown. So this kind of gets into what are we doing? And, you know, when I spoke to y'all earlier this year about communications, I talked about what I'd initially inherited and where we were at today and kind of some of the steps that we were taking going forward. And a lot of that was a little introspective and what are we as a communications department and how do we serve the residents, the visitors, and the customers here in our community. And so with that, the communications department is the storyteller. We're also an educator and a connector to everyone in our community. And the ways that we do that, we assist in the promotion of events, activities, news and information. We lead social media outreach just with our department, but then we also work with Parks and Recreation, library, police, fire department with their social media liaisons to craft good content. We maintain and update the city's website. We send out alerts and notices to residents, and then we serve as the media liaison. And as a whole, all of these functions work to provide accurate and timely information to the folks here in Boerne. And the first thing we'll kind of delve into goes back to that. Let's bring the city's website into 2025. I was hoping that maybe they were looking at some other website when they filled that out, but because we did do a massive overhaul in spring of 2023, and this is the number every year when we get it. 1.8 million page views last year. From October 1 of 24 to October 1 of this year, we had 560,000 visitors visit 1.8 million pages on our website. And just kind of breaking that down between some of the departments, the Visitor Center by far is the winner with nearly 700,000 views. You've got parks at just under 250,000, library at 100,000, and utilities at about 43,000. So they are all over the place, but we definitely have a lot of traction on various portions of our website. And then with that, we also, like I said, we launched My Bernie News, and we're kind of now getting to that point where we can start looking at the year-to-year data to see what we're doing is, and if what we're doing is actually working. So we had 79,000 page views, and this is separate from the 1.8 million, with 56,000 total visitors and 125 stories written on our website. With that, we also pulled some other data today, and it still ebbs and flows month to month. So July of 24, we had about 3,400 page views. July of this year, we had about 8,000. Obviously, earlier in July, we had a lot of information about flood resources available in our community, so that drove the traffic. If you go back to August of 24 last year, we had 7,100 with the Little League World Series. A lot of information about that. People were clicking and sharing that information. This year, the number in August was about 4,600. So it's kind of ebbing and flowing, but overall, we are seeing, even on the slow months, the numbers moving in the right direction. We're also starting to consolidate all of our external messages as just part of My Bernie News. You'll see an example of that coming up. But that way, it just starts building in that lexicon of folks of what is the information that's coming from the city. It's your Bernie News. And this is going to be a big one that we are undertaking, ADA improvements. So new federal regulations are coming into effect for us in the spring of 2025. If you're a larger community in a larger county across the country, you've got about 6 more months to make all of your improvements. So we have a little more time. The big thing that they're really going to be focusing on, that we're getting correspondence from our affiliate partners, TML, Tamio, is that it's going to be PDFs. So all of those documents on our website that are not ADA compliant is really going to be the big thing that they're going to tackle first. So one of the ways that we've kind of started to address that issue is we launched Recite Me earlier this year, and in July of this summer we had about 300 clicks on just that specific platform. And the folks were utilizing a screen reader or style tool. And what the style tool does is that lets you change the contrast. It lets you change the image sizes. You can remove images. You can do black and white, red and yellow, whatever kind of color you need to really see what is on the screen for the best user experience is what that makes available for folks. You can have an audio tool if you want to just hover over something and it'll read the words. If you hover over a picture, it'll say a picture of and describe it for you. So it has some of these features available there for folks that are in need of some of those ADA necessities. And then the form digitization, like I said, so all of our forms, a lot of our forms right now are PDFs. So they're not pretty, and they're about to not be ADA compliant. So that's been one of the big things that we've worked on. I know I mentioned earlier this year, the first one that we're going to launch is the new utility customer sign-up through customer care and billing. We've been working with UCCB, Mike's team at IT. The form itself is about 95% complete. The next phase of this is actually going to be on the back end, working with Tyler, the software developer, to actually make sure that when somebody fills it all out, we have the route that it needs to go. And what that should be able to do, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, you submit all of this, you hit submit, and it will basically put the information in the system for customer care and billing. Right now, what they have to do is either you print out the PDF or you email it, and the customer care representative has to go manually fill out all of that information. So that's going to remove potential inaccuracies. Did I, exactly how did you spell that last name? Is that a 0 or an O? Those types of things. So it's going to remove some of those common issues that might occur, but also make it ADA compliant. Some additional enhancements that we've taken on in the last couple of years. So we're always striving to serve the community beyond some of our more traditional ways. 6 years ago when I got here, communications was very outbound. Here's just what's going on, or here's what's happening, here's what we're doing. And it wasn't a lot of the coming back component. So when we started doing that, we got some really good ideas and feedback from folks. So the first one was the community events calendar, and that highlights activities in Boerne, in the general vicinity, but primarily in Boerne, and things that are of interest to residents. So a lot of those comments that you heard of, we wish there were more things to do. This is one of those tools, especially, I'm going to use Ty as an example as a business owner. I know they have the live music on there. They have special events that are happening. You can submit to the calendar, and it'll be listed right there. Hill Country mile rod run this weekend. I think we had 8,500 participants this weekend. So one of the tools in which to get folks out there, the thought when we launched it was if somebody was maybe driving down on a Saturday or Sunday or even on a weeknight and they saw a crowd, they might have been like, well, what's going on there? This would drive that tool. We think we've achieved that. So what is the next step? So instead of maybe having Hamby's or Cibolo submit an event for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to start talking to our restaurateurs and our retailers and say, if you have several events happening this week at your establishment, and then it's a list. So that way, if you are busy on Monday night, but you see something on Wednesday that might interest you, that's a way to kind of engage with the community, engage with our businesses here in Boerne. Again, we're continuing all of our businesses. What makes it easy is once you create your account and you sign up, your login is there, so it's easy to remember, and you can just log in and submit events as they start to come up. And then the other tool that we've launched recently was the Boerne Q&A, so that's our AI chat. All that does is that scrolls just our website for information. Like I said, with 1.8 million viewers, clicks, and 500,000 plus visitors, we know that they're not just visiting from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. They're visiting at all hours of the day, all hours of the night. They might be looking for when their trash and recycle is. They might be looking for rules to Boerne City Lake. That's a big one. So what that allows is for folks to not have to dig through our website to try to hunt down and find information. It just provides quick, accurate information. That's maybe one less email, one less phone call to a staff member in return, because that information is already on the website and it just supplies it to them. We're also going to start meeting people where they are. That's a big thing that we hear a lot. And so we initially launched that last year with our HOA meetings. We've had 2 of them so far, and they've been really successful. I think we've had about 15 different neighborhoods, different HOAs come and participate. Well, one of the things that we're starting to do this year is I'm going to start going to them. And in November, I'm going to go to the woods of Frederick Creek and present with them. And then in December, I'm working with Councilman Bunker to have a meeting in Trails of Herf Ranch for some of the changes that are coming up to trash and recycle in that community, but also then just provide another community update. So it's being able to go where folks are, because the reality is usually at 6 or 7 o'clock on a Tuesday or at noon on a Tuesday, folks are busy. They've got kids, they've got work, they have other things. So how can we make it easier for them to get information from us? And that requires us to be a little more flexible. And we're cool with that. In addition to that, we also have our kind of annual Rotary meetings, civic meetings all throughout the year. On Thursday, I'll be meeting with Noontime Rotary and kind of, again, just presenting an annual update of everything happening here in the city. Another kind of tool that, again, we saw was highlighting the events that are happening. So Parks and Recreation and our library offer the most, by far, free and low-cost events in our community. Combined, there are 700 activities every single year. That's like 2 a day. So, I mean, you shouldn't be bored. If you're bored in the middle of the day, we've got stuff for you to do. We've got stuff for you to do on the weekend. This 2 weekends ago, we had the Camp Out at the Lake. That was 400 people enjoyed that, completely free and available to them. So we do offer these great things for people of all ages. I know the library does Tai Chi yoga. They do the killer crafts that you saw. They do all these different fun things. Parks does great fun things, and it's for various ages all across our city. So there's a little something for everybody. So really being able to get that in front of folks. I think sometimes what I always do, and I always have to remind myself, I tend to know a lot of what's happening. I'm like, oh yeah, that's happening, but somebody else might not. So I have to always remind myself, my neighbor might not know what's going on. And so always reminding them of what's happening. And maybe I posted about it 6 months ago on Facebook. That doesn't mean the algorithm showed it to them, and doesn't mean that they knew it existed. So we're continuing to collaborate with our partners departmentally. So 2 of the events that we've really started to hone in on for parks is Kite Day and Chalk Walk. And then for the library, it's kind of some of those evening and after school events that are occurring. If you've been here at 4 o'clock and you've seen the wave of kids come across from Middle School North, it seems like it was more than last year, but every time I see it, I'm just like, it's just a wave of kids. It always impresses me. And then you go in there and they're just having the time of their life. One of the new things that we've also started to do, again, in kind of getting information and news out in front of folks, is we've partnered with some people here in the community, the Boerne Life being one that we've had some really good success with. So earlier this year, we had 2 initiatives that we undertook with them. We did a 3-month kind of trial run to see what the success would be. And the big one that we did was Live at the Library. That was the primary event that was promoted. And here are just some of the numbers. We started in April with the paid promotions. We had a little dabble in March. But as you can see, each month that it got promoted, it beat out last year by and far. And so, and also speaking to staff that organizes it, Karen Creech, multiple months she was like, there are a lot of people I have not seen before. So we know that this is getting out in front of people who might not have otherwise known about it. And again, that's just another avenue and another tool that has shown that people in the community are engaging with. So let's meet them again where they're at. One of the other collaborations that we tried this year was pet adoption at animal care. That was a little bit of a dud. So we kind of were able to pivot a little bit and say, okay, let's focus on, this clearly is, it's going to be the events, things to do, especially in the evenings, and things for families to do. So we kind of were able to hone in on some of those things with them. Additionally, we have community impact in our neighborhood now. It's a new partnership that we have. So the digital correspondence and the emails started in February, where you could sign up every morning and get a newsletter sent to your email inbox at 6 a.m. The print started in May, and it goes to 78006 and 78015, which is, as y'all kind of know in your time on city council or living in this community, a lot of folks, whether they live in Boerne proper or not, they have a tie to Boerne. This is their kids go to school here, they work here, they shop here, they dine here. This is their hub. So they have that connection to what's going on. They feel a stronger tie to Boerne than maybe they would somewhere else. And so we're able to reach nearly 29,000 households and 45,000 readers every month. This is what it looks like. It's the back page of that letter, of their monthly newsletter that comes out, and it's got information. So this one was highlighting the city budget. We've done events, we've done Parks and Recreation, the library. I know we're working on one. The October one was fall events downtown. November is obviously going to be Dickens on Main, Vinox Parade, and all the other fun stuff. So working towards just highlighting all the things that are happening here in the community. One of the conversations I know we had for next year, there's a couple of months in our planning meeting earlier where we had a couple of blank months, and I said, that's probably a great time to talk about the enhancements and the things that we've done over the last several years for engineering and mobility, our streets department. Again, letting folks know that it sometimes does feel like it's taking a really long time, but we are actually chipping away at some of the concerns that they have addressed. And then our 26 goals for this year. So like I said, I love meetings. I'm probably unique in that way. And I love big white pieces of paper where I can go write things out. If you've ever been in my office, there's usually one across the desk for me, and I just stare at that. And it's my favorite thing to stare at because it keeps me accountable to what I want to do. So this is what I have for next year. And for this upcoming year, I should say. So a fully established social media calendar and style guide. So basically, I've accumulated a lot of these things in different places. With Bria coming on board, it's time to kind of consolidate. So if I get hit by a bus tomorrow or I win the lottery, we have a central place for all of that information. Continued efforts to bring the ADA compliance. It really is a very heavy, heavy lift. And Robert Taylor in our office is, leading that effort, and it's a huge effort. So partnering with city departments on strategic initiatives. Some of the things that I know the Parks Department is working on is some new software for event registration. They were doing some great things at the cemetery. Like I said, customer care and billing. We're going to work with HR in our onboarding process for new employees. So all of these different things where, again, it might not necessarily be the communications department is the primary lead for it, but we can really assist and help and elevate it beyond just a traditional, here's a flyer, or here's a new website that we have. A new departmental name. So we've been communications department. if you've been in the municipal communication side of things for a really long time, pre-comms department, you would have actually thought we were more dispatch. And I've gotten emails from other public safety agencies around the area just because I was the comms director. They thought I handled 911. And they would send me things, and I was like, well, that's not me. Just kind of, again, a new department name to kind of encapsulate all that we're now doing. And then also just increasing short form and broadcast videos. So the reality is people are not going to read a whole paragraph on a social media post. So how can we get to them in the 5 to 8 seconds that I have to keep your attention, that hopefully you will stop scrolling, watch what we've put out there, and, maybe put a little piece of information in front of you. Or at the very least, even if you stopped for 3 seconds, the algorithm will say, okay, that's something you engaged with. Let me pump more of that to your feed. So with all of that, I will now open it up to any questions or comments.
Any questions? Any comments?
Comment.
Go ahead.
Since I've been on council, my long tenureship here, definitely seen such a growth in our communication. We've had many people talk about their frustrations with the lack of communication, and I think city manager's office, council, communications department, we've done such a good job. And I think the mentality of what we all desire and our desire to communicate and make sure that the community gets to be part of the process the best of our legal ability. I know that's something we all want to do, and Chris, I think your department's done a great job in that, and I know you'll continue to do a great job. So I've loved to see, it's been cool to be a part of that growth, and I'm look forward to continue to see that growth. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say I think the communication is heads and tails. Just the 3 years that I've been here on council is grown tremendously. I use the website a lot just for information. There's anything that the city's doing. I get questions all the time about the budget. I'm like, well, why don't you go to the website? Oh, the budget's on the website? Yeah, everything we do is on the website. When you want to talk about fire, police, community parks. But some of the interesting comments I get are there's not enough information. Well, we can't spoon feed everything that's going on inside the city to everyone. Some of it is a matter of getting on a website, clicking, linking, going to social media, that type of stuff. But I think you guys are doing an amazing job. If anytime I look up for something or have a question what's going on in the community, it's readily available. It's always up to date. So I just wanted to say kudos to your department.
Can I share something? So just exactly a month ago, I helped two of my daughters move into a rental home and trying to help them adult. Told my daughter to just go to the website and, get on Boerne Utilities. And I was surprised that the utility, to sign up for utilities, you have to print out the form, fill it out, and scan it and send it in. I was surprised by that. So I'm excited for those changes coming, because that was surprising. I was like, really? That's where we are still?
Yeah.
April 2027, all of that should be a thing of the past. So it's a bit by bit, but yeah.
All right, thank you, Director Shadrock. Appreciate it. Mayor, Council, just two more things. Director Shadrock mentioned the Rod Run. We had a great event Saturday, good weather. No public safety incidents that have been reported to me. I will let you know 8,500 visitors showed up that day. That's about 600 more than last year. The peak was between noon and 2 with about 3,000 visitors in that downtown environment at the same time. 60% of those visitors originated outside of the 78006 and 78015 zip codes, with 16% of those visitors coming from more than 100 miles away for that show. So a good event, all in all. And then lastly, just a reminder that our next council meeting is being rescheduled to the Monday before. It won't be on Tuesday the 28th. It'll be on Monday the 27th. That is all I have.
All right, thank you, Ben. All right, we move on to agenda item number 8, comments from council. Do we have any comments from council members this evening before we go into executive session? No. Okay, we're going to go into executive session. We're not going to discuss agenda item 9A, 2025-536, consultation with the attorney. Per state law, the attorney is not here, so we will not have a discussion on that matter. We will go into executive session to discuss 9B, 2025-540, and that only, and that's section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property per for addition lot 3 and .4 of 2373 acres. On that note, we will adjourn to executive session. Thank you, everyone. 7:34 p.m. Yep, he's here. All right, we are officially reconvened in open session at, I gotta buy a watch. What time is it?
7:45.
So, yeah, every day. 7:45 p.m. Right, with no further discussion, we will now end the regular city council meeting at 7:45 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.